You hear two things about AI, right? On one hand, you hear this incredible promise that it's going to add trillions to the global economy. But on the other hand, there's this brutal reality. Almost every single project fails before it even gets off the ground. So today, we're going to break down exactly why this is happening, and more importantly, what the world's leading companies are doing to actually make AI work. First, let's just talk about the hype, because the numbers are almost hard to wrap your head around. Research from McKinsey estimates that generative AI, just by itself, could add up to $4.4 trillion in value to the global economy annually. I mean, to put that into perspective for you, that is more than the entire GDP of the United Kingdom. The economic stakes here are just astronomical. But then there's this number, the one that kind of stops everyone in their tracks. Despite all that massive potential, a staggering 95% of enterprise AI projects fail to ever reach production. They never make it out of the lab. This isn't just a gap between hype and reality, it's a chasm, a huge one. So you have to ask, what is going so fundamentally wrong here, right? If the tech is this powerful and the economic incentive is this huge, why is pretty much everyone failing? Well, it turns out the problem usually isn't the AI model itself, it's everything else. It's the data, the architecture, and all the processes surrounding it. This widespread failure actually has a name. Experts in the field call it pilot purgatory, and it is exactly where good ideas go to die. Let's dive into why so many projects end up getting trapped there. So, pilot purgatory is that incredibly frustrating place where a promising AI proof of concept works beautifully in a controlled lab environment, but then just completely falls apart the second you try to connect it to the real world. Think of an AI that can perfectly identify product defects when you feed it a clean, curated set of images, but then it just fails the moment it's connected to a live, messy, shaky camera feed on a real factory floor. The project gets stuck, and it can't make that leap from a cool demo to a tool that actually creates value. In this breakdown, it really boils down to three core reasons. First up, you have the data gap. Your pilot is built on perfect, clean data, but the real world is messy, it's chaotic. Second, you've got what we call toy architectures. That simple little chatbot wrapper that worked so great in the demo, it can't handle a real multi-step business process. And finally, governance. It just paralyzes everything. All those security and privacy issues that were kind of brushed aside in the pilot, they become absolute showstoppers when you try to go live. And this table just lays that disconnect out perfectly. I mean, look at adoption speed. The hype promises, oh, you can deploy this in weeks. The reality, 18-month implementation cycles are pretty standard. Or check out ROI visibility. The pitch is always instant productivity gains, but the reality is nearly half of tech leaders struggle to even prove there was a return on their investment. It's a total mismatch of expectations. So how do you escape this purgatory? Well, the answer isn't to just go out and pick a better AI model. It's to start thinking differently about how AI is structured in the first place. The real solution lies in bringing together two powerful forms of AI, predictive and generative. Think of it like this. You've got predictive AI, which is kind of like the brain. It analyzes all your historical data to forecast what's probably going to happen next, like predicting a machine failure or a stock shortage. But here's the thing, on its own, it can't do anything about it. That's where generative AI comes in. It's the hands and voice. It creates new things and it executes tasks. It's the part that answers, hey, create this for me, or go do this for me. So the killer app for any business isn't about choosing between the brain and the hands. It's about building a system where the brain intelligently tells the hands what to do. And this is the crucial shift, right? We're moving from passive dashboards that just show you a problem to active, automated systems that actually go out and solve it for you. Let me walk you through a real-world supply chain example of this in action. Okay, so step one, you have the trigger, a predictive model. That's the brain. It analyzes data and it flags a 40% chance of a stockout. Okay, so what happens next? Step two, reasoning. An AI agent takes that trigger and it automatically queries the company's systems to find alternate suppliers. Then, finally, step three, action. A generative AI model takes over, drafts a formal request for a quote, and sends it to the procurement manager for a simple one-click approval. You see, prediction triggers reasoning, which triggers action. And look, this isn't just some theory on a slide. Some of the world's biggest industrial companies are already using this convergence model to generate massive real-world value. Let's take a look at how they're doing it. Okay, Tape John Deere. They've basically transformed themselves from a traditional hardware company into a leading AI robotics company. And their flagship See and Spray system, it's a masterclass in this approach. It uses incredibly advanced computer vision right there on the tractor to identify in real time the difference between a crop and a weed. And it's doing this at high speed in a dusty field. That is a seriously tough problem to solve. And the impact is just stunning. By precisely targeting only the weeds instead of just broadcast spraying an entire field, farmers can potentially reduce their herbicide use by up to 2/3, 66%. I mean, that is a huge economic win for the farmer, and it's an incredible environmental win for all of us. And this is the key to why it works so well. John Deere didn't just build a cool tech demo. They built a system that directly aligns profit with sustainability. It lowers costs for farmers, and it reduces chemical runoff into the environment. That is how you get an entire organization to buy in and create real, lasting value. So, if John Deere shows us what precision looks like, our next example is all about massive scale. Because while most companies are struggling with a single AI pilot, Shell is using AI for predictive maintenance on over 10,000 pieces of critical equipment across their global operations. This is what enterprise-grade AI really looks like in the wild. And they didn't just stumble into this. They had a really clear blueprint. First, they built a single, unified platform to avoid the data silos that kill most projects. Second, they created an open ecosystem with partners, so they wouldn't get locked into one vendor's tech. Third, they used digital twins, these virtual replicas of physical machines, to safely simulate stress tests without breaking anything. And now, they're integrating generative AI to automatically draft maintenance procedures whenever a predictive alert goes off. It's a complete end-to-end system. Okay, so building the tech is one thing, but that's only half the battle. To truly escape pilot purgatory, you have to prove its value to the business. And that means moving beyond these feel-good vanity metrics and actually measuring what impacts the bottom line. This table right here, this is your key to unlocking the C-suite's budget. Look at the column on the left. These are the vanity metrics you have to avoid. Stop reporting things like daily active users. It doesn't mean anything. Instead, focus on the column on the right and measure cost per transaction. Show how the cost to process a single invoice dropped from $5 to 50 cents. Don't talk about theoretical hours saved. Talk about revenue per employee, and prove that the same team can now handle double the volume. This is the language of business value. So we've covered data, architecture, and metrics. But the single greatest barrier to AI adoption, the one that causes most projects to ultimately fail, it's not technical at all. It's about people. You have to remember the 80-20 rule of enterprise AI. The models, they can automate the bulk of a task, maybe 80% of it. But that final critical 20%, the part that needs verification, ethical judgment, and dealing with those bizarre edge cases, that still requires a skilled human expert in the loop. The goal isn't to replace your people, it's to augment them, to give them superpowers. You know, you can have the best technology in the world, but if your organization doesn't trust it, if your people aren't trained and comfortable working alongside it, and if your culture just fundamentally resists change, the project will fail. Period. Always remember this. The final hurdle is always culture, not code. And this all brings us to the one question you should be asking about every single AI project you're involved with. Is this a business solution or is it just a science project? Are you building something that solves a real, painful business problem with a clear ROI? Or are you just building something because it's technically interesting? Because in the coming year, only one of those is going to get funded.